Guess who's here? Not Kara Oosterhuis. It's me, Lyndsey Smith, sometimes the host of The Ergonomists, but right now the host of RealAg Live. And I'll let our guest in just a second, but here, I just want to... Yes, a Saskatchewan guest. Super excited here. Thanks to everybody joining us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube live. Highly recommend everybody get your comments in early, your questions in early. Today is, yes, it's going to be a fun conversation, but this is all about being interactive. So let me know if you've got any questions for my guest, who I'll bring in now. It is QuickDick McDick out of Tufnell, Saskatchewan. How are you, sir?
Spectacular. How about yourself?
Well, you know, my assistant here just brought me this, so I think
you've got yourself a can of champagne there. Congratulations.
Well, I do. So it's gonna be a good day, I gotta tell you. So now I'd call you Richard because we've never met in person, but I think I'll stick with Dick. Tell me. Now, obviously you farm, you got cattle, you got grain, the whole bit, but you've also got this crazy YouTube channel, this persona online. Where did all this come from?
That's a good question, actually. I actually, previous to, I guess, showing up on the line and the internets of things, I actually had a 20-year career in oil and gas throughout a better part of Alberta, actually. And wound up leaving that, nothing due to the oil crash or anything. It was just time for a change in life, and wound up coming back to home in Saskatchewan here. And geez, this whole thing just kind of happened by accident, actually getting on like the internet and having a channel and everything. I never really meant for any of it to happen. It just kind of did. But yeah, most of the farm that you see in the background of a lot of QuickDick stuff is actually a place called the Bar Ranch in between Tufnell and Foam Lake. Where I actually work for a guy there, and then my land is actually closer to Tufnell and to the north of it, kind of thing. So I'm all over the countryside all the time here. It's pretty awesome.
All right. So we already have a question about the beard, and I do have an entire segment devoted to the beard, but we'll jump ahead here. Yeah, Glenn says, how many years of growth on that beard?
It's not, I guess I would have June of 2019 when I left the oil field, I quit shaving. And so I guess I'm closing in on 2 years here now, but it requires quite a bit of cutting. Otherwise it gets a little bit out of control. I don't know if anyone's seen Big Mustache Al, but the hair grows rampant in the family. So everyone keeps a set of horse shears close by.
How many Richardson ground squirrels do you have nesting in there at a time? Like, what's the limit?
No less than 8, and I always like to keep a couple of robins kicking around as well, and maybe just a few hatch chickens so that you can crack an egg here and there, right? So.
Yeah, well, I mean, diversity. I mean, it's good.
Okay, you're never alone, you know what I mean?
Also, God is everywhere. Anyway, what are some of those in some of these? I mean, some of them are quick, some of them you're singing, some of them you're working. What are some of your favorite topics and videos that you've done?
It's always a toss-up. I usually know when I'm doing one that's going to do quite well, because like, I find myself laughing at it while I'm making it quite a bit, and I start having quite a bit of fun doing it. I'm actually working on one right now that I'm going to put up on Monday I'm having quite a bit of fun doing. But I don't know why it's taken me a long time to come to this, but the video I did called Number 9 Wire, that's just my all-time favorite, because it was just it happened all organic, and I filmed it real fast, and it just, as I was walking around the farm taking my different shots of it and everything, like, it was amazing, because it just kept running into one more spot where there was Number 9 Wire. And before you know it, I got to the point where I was like, I need to stop. This is going to be a 50-minute video of all the different places we've got this stuff, right?
Well, but I mean, it is, as much as you're poking fun, it's super real life, though, right? Like,
yeah, it is. I think that's why people, have such a good time with it. And I'm glad people do have fun with it. There's some people that get offended with some of the stuff I do, which I get. And but I mean, more the purpose of this whole thing is just to have people laugh and enjoy themselves, and be able to just look at something and be like, here too, Matt, same thing, except we call it this, or we do it this way, or whatever. It's it's pretty awesome. So but I like, as far as the ones that I enjoy doing the most, I love doing the kids videos. They're so much fun. pre-COVID was funner because you get to interact directly with the kids. But then once some gathering restrictions changed here, they're quite a bit to manage. I've kind of slowed down from doing kids ones for now until we can kind of get together again, just because you're trying to organize like 10-second clips with a bunch of different parents and everything. And you're just like, how did my life become this?
Yeah.
So.
How maybe that's the best part. How did my life become this? Also, my light just tried to kill me. So there you go. Now, Sherilyn. Hi, Sherilyn. Sherilyn Jolly Nagel out of Mossbank, Saskatchewan. Serious issues that make us laugh. Yeah, well, me too. Serious issues that make us laugh, a great way to just deal some days, and we appreciate the opportunity to just have fun with some serious shit. And let's face it, sometimes there are really poor days on the farm, and it's a pretty great way to make fun a little, to laugh a little at ourselves, and also I think, you know, celebrate what's common between us too, for sure, right?
Yeah, there really is, and I with a lot of my short QuickDick McDicks that I try to put out on like Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff, whatever. I've kind of tried to focus a little more on, especially if there's a specific situation where I'm having a bad day or something's gone really wrong. Like there's nothing you'll ever do to change when, well, for lack of better explanation, when shit happens. It's just going to happen, right? And you kind of got to embrace it. It's tough to do sometimes, but that's a lot of the times now, especially like, you know, I've done so many Saskatchewan yanks, or you break the door on the tractor, something goes on. I like putting videos out that are just like, hey, I'm human too, and bad things happen to everybody. Or I did one called the Dry Slough Dumbass, where I got stuck in the middle of the field. I mean, people get a kick out of seeing somebody else having a bad day, because then they're like, well, I'm having a bad day too, but what the hell, right?
Yeah. Also, tractor doors are like obnoxiously expensive. Like,
you know what?
Super
I even looked past the fact of how expensive it was, and I was just happy that it was -50 and they had one in stock, and like had it fixed that night. So I was just like, this was a win as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
right?
There you go. Take your win. Maybe not the best win. Yeah, for sure. Now, Kara wants to know where you get swag. So I do want to talk about this quickly. I did. Oh. This is why I've got my Rough Rider shirt on, is that I tried to order a bunny hug, which for all of our American friends watching is a hoodie, not one with a zipper. It's got to have the pocket, and it's a pullover. Okay, everybody.
That's right. This is a bunny hug. Good. You got the pocket.
That's a bunny hug. Anyway, but you didn't have my size or anything. So, but how big has this sort of QuickDick McDick empire already become? I mean, you got swag, you got channels, like.
So it's kind of, so like I said, all this was by accident, and then I when I started with the merch stuff, I didn't think it was going to be anything. Like, I was expecting me to just back to a nobody that females completely ignored 100% all the time, which they still do most of the time. But anyways, by this point in time in my life, but it led to some really cool stuff. I've had the opportunity to interact with a lot of really neat people, and yeah, it's all of a sudden everyone was like, I want a hat. How do I get a hat? How do I get this? Because I just kind of started bringing stuff to, you know, hockey games and stuff here and there that I go to. And we'd sell it, and whatever proceeds would just go to the hockey club or a different group. We did some stuff for kids sport and a few different things, and it just kind of started growing. And then I was like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I need to get stuff that's made in Canada and not anywhere else. And that's kind of the reason why that store is out of stock most of the time, is because it's been a real handful to try and find manufacturers and distributors. And I think I've finally made the last step in it here in the last week. And I've got some stock in here now. There's going to be new stuff coming on Monday, and then we're actually going to be getting to the point by next month where I'll just be doing top-up orders and stuff. We've got our designs down, and we've got pricing in check, and yeah. So it's if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I've been like, "Are you going to be able to tell me what a 50/50 poly cotton blend T-shirt is by next year?"
No, I have work to do. Leave me alone.
But it's been pretty cool, because it's been I've had the chance to get in touch with a bunch of different Canadian mills and find out where a lot of our cotton and everything is sourced from, because I won't support any products coming out of China. I will make sure that all of our cotton's coming from U.S. producers, and it's been cool. And if anyone out there is in the hemp business here in Canada, let me know, because I'm interested in jumping down that rabbit hole too. It's super interesting, right?
Okay. We'll see if you can connect some people. And just so you know, if you want to get on the sock train, I know some wool producers. So Just saying.
I am.
Just putting it out
I
there.
am in. I'm in. I got in
Canada,
on the Toque train, which and I love
okay,
it. The more sauce,
again,
the better.
for our American friends, toques are beanies. Why do you call them beanies, you weirdos? They're toques. But anyway, yeah. So I'm just saying, we'll find you some hemp. I'll get you some wool. Here we go. And I will mention though, in looking at the website though, I do like that you went with the traditional Saskatchewan shit brown with the bright yellow. It's
right.
It's a classic look. I gotta tell you,
it's the way it's got to be. I call it the mustard and burger kind of a look there, or whatever. Yeah. So, but we got some black and white stuff coming in because everyone's like, I can't wear this stuff because it gets too greasy in the shop, and then I can't wear it to a dance at the Tufnell Hall. So I was like, okay,
right, yeah, that's right.
You.
Also, for those of us following along at home, there, if you're wondering how many people live in Tufnell, according to a pretty ancient census, but relatively recent, there are 10, and I've seen pictures on your feed. It's just you guys.
Yeah, like, so straight up, that number's off by quite a bit. It's actually 12. So,
well, that's a huge percentage. Really?
Yeah, it's a great town. So I grew up I don't live directly in Tufnell, but I grew up just north of Tufnell. Actually, no, that's not true. But there's people that live there. But I grew up north of Tufnell on the community pasture. Actually, we were about 5 miles north of Tufnell on a federal community pasture. But that's where you'd go to get your mail. So in Saskatchewan, wherever you go to get your mail, that's where you're from.
That's right. That's actually here in Ontario too, oddly enough.
That's the gig.
Hey. Yeah, it actually happens here too. And I was talking to a farmer who farms very far away from here because Ontario is gigantic. And I asked him where he's from, and he said, "Well, I get my mail here, but I'm closer here." I'm like, "I'll write down where you get your mail." So so it's a rule.
But right? It's your classic little Saskatchewan town. There's a curling rink and there's a post office.
Oh, okay. So
there's a hall. There's a community hall, and that's why, when you're shopping online at QuickDickMcDick.ca, everything gets shipped right out of the Tufnell post office. Like, how cool is that?
See, here it would be the post office and the beer store, and a convenience store,
tied into one.
All tied into one. Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, the efficiency. Okay, but you brought up the curling rink, and so I'm going to switch gears here because we're already halfway through this, which is ridiculous.
Make sure to double clutch.
Yeah, there you go. All right. I've got here, this is our rapid fire. I got 4 questions, and I'll start with this one because you mentioned it. Where do you get the better coffee, the curling rink or the local farm meeting?
Always the curling rink.
Okay. And do you put heifer dust in it?
No.
Oh, good. Heifer dust is terrible. For those of you who don't know, heifer dust is like coffee mate. It's there. It has never seen a cow, but it's going to make your coffee lighter, and it's awful. Okay. It's also flammable. Anyone who's curious. Okay. Next question. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very. Okay. So after this, when you got a little extra time, get some coffee mate. Yeah. Give it a go. It'll go. It's fun. Okay. So next
we are going to have to prohibit heifer dust, I guess. Next. Has anybody let the know that this is what's going on? Okay. Next question.
Somebody is going to have to return all of their heifer dust. Okay. Who wins in a fight? Tommy Douglas or Ralph Goodale?
Oh, Ralph Goodale probably every time.
Because he's alive. Okay. Next. Best use.
Never take a dump on a ghost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's true. All right. Best use of electrical tape.
Band-Aid.
Oh, I was going to say fixing your truck. Little light on your dash.
A close
electrical.
Second is always check engine light. But I mean, always with the slice on the thumb, you get the paper towel, then you get the electrical tape, and then you can drive to the hospital.
And it just holds. Yeah, it's good. Okay, and last question, and I promised there would be a segment on the beard. What's better for the beard? WD-40 or used hydraulic oil?
I would go with used hydraulic oil only if it's Canadian hydraulic oil and it has actually run through the tractor, of course. Yeah. Mm.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Because of the extra.
A close second I found is good organic matter for the beard is actually when you're shoulder deep, pulling a cap, you can just kind of rub it around
give it a little
bit, and you get some placenta on it and whatnot. It's really good. Yeah.
I'm sure you're popular with the farm dogs. All right, so we do have a couple questions coming in. But Lara, of course, so Lara is from near bigger Saskatchewan. New York is big, but this is bigger. And so she is basically sharing all the Saskatchewan knowledge she has in the comments. So
Nice.
thank you, Lara. That's pretty awesome. Jim also agrees with me that heifer dust is totally flammable. So there you go. Jim is an engineer. So if he says it's flammable, like he understands flight. Like that's how smart he is. I think
Hey, always
it's
trust an
magic.
engineer unless they've designed your combine and you can't figure out how many parts you have to take off to get the part that's broken off of it. Then me and engineers are going to have a conversation.
You know what? If I engineered combines, I would leave like little like Easter eggs. Like I would leave like a present like somewhere in there where it's like, hey, you made it this far. Like you get a little treat or something.
That's a pretty good idea. And it's actually funny because I think like most farmers, agricultural technicians are like immediately mad that you have to take so many things apart to get the said part. But when you step back and go into the grand scheme of the amount of parts that are at a combine, I'm sure they can't just go like, well, we're going to actually, we're going to design this so it's easy to get this pulley assembly off. That's what we're going to do. No, we're just going to try and make all these pieces fit together and work, right? I get it.
Yeah. Although, has the shape of the combine, the modern combine, really changed all that much? Like, I wonder, should we be just like completely rethinking it? Oh, well, there you go. I mean, I guess it depends where you're from, because that might be 1980, depending. So I guess
we just got into the 7720 Titans here this year, and they are like state of the art. Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. All right.
They've even got GPS in them, the Great Western Positioning System. It holds your can of beer while you're driving down the field there. It's pretty awesome.
See, there you go. All right. So now I do want to, because we're going to run out of time, and I wanted to tackle a couple of the bigger things that you do. And so we've talked about with, this character and with the reach that you have and the platforms that you're on. You also, I mean, yes, it's the shared experience. It's the crappy days. It's the good days. It's funny stuff. But you, of course, are going to call it like it is. And you've brought attention to some really important stuff, and particularly mental health and agriculture. So how do you sort of broach that? Why is that important to you?
So I've shared it on a few different podcasts that I've done, but so I like within my family, we've had some close brushes with mental health, and it really got to the point where it's something that you can inherit genetically, through the family, and in agriculture specifically. Not, I guess, not just in agriculture specifically, but when you're oil and gas and a lot of industries where people are expected to be tough and to just keep pushing on and everything. I support being tough and pushing on, but it's really important that you be able to express what you've got going on in your mind as well. I was raised with a pretty tough hand, and then later in my life, the person that raised me with that tough hand actually taught me that you don't always have to have that tough hand. And he did it not only by telling me to do it, but he led by example in doing it. And he was a very key factor in helping myself personally, recognizing that I might have been headed down the same path that he was. And I really don't have any shame or humility. I'm perfectly fine going in front of people and just letting you know what's on my mind and what's important to me. And I think the reason I kind of went down that path with it is I've got a larger group of people following me, maybe that are like the tough old school kind of folks. And I feel it was important for me to talk, or it is important for me to talk about a few things like that, for the simple fact that they might just be able to look and say, well, if QuickDick can do it, so can I, kind of thing. And if that's a kind of tiny little connection that you can make with people out there to try and help break a stigmatism that it's not okay to talk about something, I think that can be done. And I think it can be done while you laugh and while you have a good time. And every now and then, like, I'll try and drop a little nugget here and there, kind of thing, just saying it's okay to do this or it's okay to do that. And I'll kind of do it in my own little way. And then the next video you watch me, it'll just be me cussing and swearing like a sailor, and everyone will be like, what? Where's this guy even going? Like, he just jumps all around. But I feel like if I do it that way, you just don't focus on one thing all the time, but you can kind of just put that little bit of stuff out there and let people know it's okay to talk to people, right?
For sure. Sherilyn's got another a question here. Best advice for policy junkies who are down in the dumps about carbon tax, gun control, and other government overreach. How do you keep the spirit up?
Yeah, that's a really tough one, because there's a lot of that going on, and there's I've had kind of a break in a lot of my uploads tackling a lot of these topics, for the simple fact that I've almost been like bombarded by so many things all happening at once. And it's a big reason why I try and put a lot of the stuff out that I do. I'm actually working on an energy one right now that's going to be coming out involving solar and a few different things. But yeah, when you get down to government's overreach with Bill C-21 and everything, excuse me, It's upsetting what's going on. But the important thing everybody needs to remember is it's not just one person, which is why I will continue to try and do what I'm doing of quote unquote holding a government to account, or just trying to identify with people, like-minded people that are out me thinking the same thing, is to just know that you're not alone. And there's a lot of Canadians that are frustrated with what's going on. And it's not just in Western Canada. I know a lot of people really well from Ontario, from New Brunswick, from Nova Scotia, that don't bleed red and that don't support a lot of the things that are going on. So if you're feeling like you're isolated out there and that you're alone, you're not. There are still people that have a head on their shoulders in the world that know what it takes to feed us, to clothe us, and to keep a roof over our heads, right? And I will continue to do what I can to make sure people know what it takes to get it done. Are there more sustainable things we can do to continue doing it? Well, there always is. That's the coolest thing about agricultural and oil and gas and all of our different industries here in Canada, is that we just continue to improve and improve and improve and get better. But don't let somebody with a stick come in and hit you over the head and say you're doing it wrong and you're going to be canceled. It's just keep doing you and keep doing better every day, right?
Well, and so later today on the radio show, we have every Friday we have an issues panel, and today we talk because of course the government rolled out their outline for the carbon offset system and everything today, and trying to wrap our heads around it. Like it almost feels from an agriculture perspective, and I mean we farm too, that like we don't have a shared reality. Like it seems to me like there's this like alternate worlds where, you know, policy is being made that just lives in its own little bubble, and they're just, I don't know how agriculture breaks into there, but we have to, because ultimately we're still the ones on the landscape doing the farming. So
you're absolutely right, and that's it's a very, very, you know, important time, I feel, in Canada and the world right now, with a lot of climate policy junkies jumping on the train of just like I call it climate change drunk, because you get so intoxicated with focusing on one thing. It's every second word I hear come out of our fearless Sparkle Socks leaders of Canada's mouth is climate change, and I call that being completely intoxicated with something. So intoxicated to the point where you have your blinders on and you're not paying attention to anything around you, or how it affects how you live. And people have their eyes closed as to where their food comes from and where the heat source for their home comes from. And prime example right now is when we have KXL that's been canceled, and we have absolutely no action whatsoever out of Ottawa. And then all of a sudden, when Line 5's in jeopardy, we're springing to action, because it all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, well of course we need oil and gas, and it's not dead because it's set to affect you and not everybody else, right? So, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, which someone here, Jeff Nielsen, has mentioned that you must have Starlink because your connection is like one of the best ones we've had in rural areas. But I was going to say it does.
I'm going to let that out of the bag. I came into the town of Foam Lake to do this so that I didn't lose. So hey, I'm going to hit the grocery store. I'm going to hit the grocery store. I'm going to get some booze, and then I'll head back.
Yeah, there you go. So I will tell you, Dick, that we've had guests that have had to drive to town like 5 minutes before we were going live to go get a signal, and sometimes tethered to their phone. So there you go, Jeff. But I would say, because you mentioned sort of the until it impacts, you know, them and let's say policymakers, whatever, it's very hard to get intelligent policy necessarily. And I do think, you know, rural internet is one of those ones that, if anything out of COVID has taught people, it's that there's huge parts of this country that have barely usable internet, if at all. And yet other people in the city, you know, they're ticked off if you can't stream on 4 different devices, right? And you know, how are we supposed to run virtual businesses and telecommute and like all these things when we can't even, you know, download a PDF? Like
I need to drive to town to upload a file into Dropbox. Yeah. To drive to town, I'm going to have to burn fuel, on which I'm paying carbon tax to get to town. So you're charging me a carbon tax to send a email. Did you see how I managed to keep myself from swearing?
I am so proud of you. I would hand you this vitamin P if I could. But then, you know what? The technology just isn't there.
Tell my mom it'll be better.
Okay, it'll be fine.
Yeah, but it's no, and that's one of the big reasons that I get really concerned. I think if federal government specific here right now is that I feel like we have a very young and I'm not trying to call anybody out here or call them names, but I feel like we have a very young, urban dwelling group of individuals making policy decisions right now. And that's a very dangerous thing, to have somebody making policy decisions on things that they have absolutely no clue whatsoever about, right? It's terrifying, actually. And when you make small decisions that seem like small decisions to you, they can have such a huge effect on such a huge amount of your rural population. It's definitely something that needs to be changed, and it's information that needs to be shared with a lot of people, and that we just need to try and keep pumping out as much as we can. And I would, I would say that's been one of the best things that I've seen since kind of getting back onto the social media scene, so to speak, is that there's getting to be more and more and more people in agriculture that are sharing stories, and that get posts out there. And I guess if I had a goal, it would be one of my goals is to try and make it enjoyable so that people laugh and enjoy their time that they spend with me, be it 5 minutes or 10 minutes on YouTube, or a minute on Twitter, or wherever I'm uploading on, and tap into that part of their soul that makes them feel good and laugh and be happy, whether they're urban or rural or wherever, and just at the same time be able to see what's happening in the background and be like, what is going on there? Or I had no idea that's where that comes from. You know what I mean?
And I have this vision, because I live here in Ottawa, of like sending your videos and being like, this guy's an expert on agriculture, because you are, obviously, but like with like stone face, and just be like, use this and study, and then see like how the perspective changes, and like, let's see what comes out of it, and just like totally just see, oh good, I've frozen. Yeah, I think it would be an excellent exercise. Also mean, but
I can assure you, I'm the farthest thing from an expert on a lot of things. I've been lucky enough in my life that I grew up around agriculture, specifically in cattle, and I had the opportunity to see this entire country through the oil and gas industry, which I've never taken a moment of that for granted. I've seen right up into the Arctic Circle. And I had the opportunity to come back home and be like directly, immediately involved with a grain operation as well, which I've learned so much in the last 2 years, just specifically with this grain operation. It's gotten even myself a whole new respect for people in agriculture. And there's so many different sides to it. And I think what terrifies me the most is that I've spent the better part of 25 to 28 years learning a lot of these things. And I feel like I've just scratched the surface of it. And here we have people in our federal government that are making policies that just don't have the farthest clue about what happens, right? I would question myself if I went in to start making policies that would affect people in agriculture, let alone somebody that's never set foot on a farm,
So and I mean that, and you're right. Especially if you've never really left your hometown or your home area or whatever, I highly recommend everyone in agriculture, once we can go and travel freely, go to another province, go visit farmers, connect over Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and go see how farming happens in another part of the country, because it's fascinating. You'll always learn something. You'll have a great time. And it's pretty fantastic.
So
but you're right. It is, but you're right. Like, then we need to either bring that to our bureaucrats and our politicians, or we need to bring them to there and hope to make those connections and get them to talk. But I highly recommend, get out of your backyard, go visit. We are just about out of time, but I do have a question. Where did the name come from? And your name, I'm not, you can say your real name if you really want to. I know that this is a close.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's fine. I never have a problem. So my real name is Dixon.
Yes.
Delore, right? So yes. Dick for short. So I've been a dick my whole life. And it's not easy being a dick sometimes, but sometimes you have to be one. But I came up with QuickDick McDick as a Twitter, or as a what's it called? A Tinder handle. And it didn't work very well.
Weird.
Whether my Tinder was broken, I don't know. Nobody was matching with me. So I just brought it over to social media because I didn't think anybody would find me. And I guess I screwed that one up.
So there you go. All right.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I like it a lot. So everybody just swipe. No, I'm just kidding. Lastly, do you have a favorite platform between all the social media and all the whatever? Do you have a favorite?
No, I quite dislike all of them because I spend too much time on them. I don't know why I seem to jump on Twitter the most, but I just find it easiest to work with. I feel like I should spend more time on Instagram, but I just
know.
there's so much of it that I can't figure out and try to share it. I was just like, for some reason, I spend a little more time on Twitter than anything else, but I try and keep an eye on everything else. I've got a stack of messages I need to get through. If you're waiting on a reply from me, I'm trying to get back to you. It's just, man, it's only got so much time.
There you go. There, we'll just broadcast that. Everybody, he's busy. He'll get back to you. Okay. So there you go. This
trying
is where,
to get there, right?
Yeah, unread messages are like 10,000, whatever. Now, but I mean, this is one of those things that people, I think, kind of forget about, is that, I mean, you're still a real person. You still have a job to do. You still have a real life and all those sorts of things. And so to try and like keep on top of this machine that you built is,
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't,
There's
Jim doesn't get Instagram. How does Jim not get Instagram? What's there get?
No, Jim. Hey, Jim, don't let Lyndsey beat your brow here a little bit. You and me are good, Jim. We're good.
He's my brother from another mother. Let me tell you.
Oh, is that right? Okay, well,
there you go. It's not really. Yeah. So I don't know. I get Instagram, I guess. Maybe not, I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? I had a really cool thing happen to me on Instagram the other day. Jess Moskaluk, a fantastic Saskatchewan artist here, actually mentioned me in her story. And then like the next day, Brad Johnner mentioned me on a Facebook post, and I'm just like, well, I'm retiring. That's the end of my career.
I'm done. Yep, I'm gonna go make fries at the rink. Yeah, and that's about it. And so, but how Canadian can you get, right? Where you're like, Jess Moskaluk. She is fantastic though. Love her voice. Yay. Good for you.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, so it was a great day. I had a great day. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, Dick, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, most people probably follow you on some sort of platform, but what's your website for all the merch?
It's QuickDickMcDick.ca.
Oddly enough, that was available. Weird, right? Okay.
Yeah. Who knows? But be careful when you're typing in that URL, because if you type things wrong there, you could be taken to some horrendously bad websites.
Yeah, don't search it. Just go directly there. Okay. All right. Thanks, Dick. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Lyndsey.
Okay, and thanks to all our audience for hanging out with us this afternoon. It's late afternoon for me. I know it's a lot earlier out in the west there, but I hope you had fun. Great to have QuickDick on the show. Really great of him to take some time out of his day. I know that he's also about to, his cows are about to start calving, so I know it's a busy time of year, so I appreciate it. And thanks to all our followers and listeners and everybody for commenting. And Jim, you really are my brother from another mother. And I really do miss you. And I'm sorry for wrecking your Jeep. And I mean that. All right. Hey, check out RealAg Radio. It goes in about an hour on SiriusXM. If you don't have SiriusXM, you can head on over to realagriculture.com/radio and you can listen to today's and frankly, the last 3 years radio shows if you really want to. And Monday night on The Agronomist, it's going to be Phil Needham and Peter Johnson all talking about setting your drill, and there will probably be some wheat talk. So join us 8 p.m. Eastern on our live stream for that as well. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.